Hey, I'm Mick Finch and welcome back to Blue Chip Machine Shop. Wanted to talk to you about something I get an awful lot of emails about, and that's Roy Dean grease. To give you a little bit of history, Roy Dean grease is the grease that is specified in the all of the South Bend Lathe literature for lubricating your back gear and spindle cone on your machines. Unfortunately, it's no longer available through Roy Dean Enterprises. There are two vendors out there on the internet that are still have a supply of it and are selling it. One would be Steve Wells, who has an excellent website and sells other items. I'll put his web address on here so you can take a look at his stuff. He's got a great archive of South Bend Lathe information. Great guy to deal with. The other fella is Steve Brooks. He does business on eBay as SW Brooks, I believe. I'll put his link on the site here also. Sells literature on rebuilding South Bend lathes and Bridgeport machines. Also sells some of the soft parts, way wipers and seal kits, stuff like that. I know they're an excellent vendor. You'll probably want to check his stuff out too. They both have a very limited supply of Roy Dean grease. I've been told that Roy Dean is no longer producing this, and I believe that when the two Steves run out, there ain't no mo. So what I've done, did a little bit of research on the lubrication needs of the machines, and through the help of some others, I have a substitute for you. But before we get into that, let's just take a quick look at what we're going to be lubricating, and then we'll move on to the new product I'm carrying. Let me change your camera angle so you can get a better look. Okay, here's the area we're talking about. It's right on the headstock of your lathe, and there's going to be two areas that you're going to be lubricating. This may be marked oil or grease, but somewhere back in the 60s, South Bend Lathe's service department designated this to be lubricated only with Roy Dean grease. The theory was that these should be oiled at least once per 8-hour shift, and they weren't being lubricated, so they changed the oil regimen to include grease. The Roy Dean number is DE-112. The South Bend Lathe catalog number is CE-1625. The Roy Dean grease was only needed to be greased once a year, which may or may not be right, but that's what they decided was reasonable. The second area would be the back gear. There's an eccentric shaft in here that needs to be lubricated. Previously it was to be lubricated with oil, and they changed that for grease too. So on your South Bend Lathe lubrication chart, you're going to notice these are the only two areas on the lathe to be lubricated with Roy Dean grease. I tend to lubricate them with oil. I do it more frequently than most people might, if you are a purist and have to have Roy Dean grease, you can only get it through Steve Brooks and Steve Wells. Those are the only two places I know that you can get it right at the moment. But I have a substitute that I've been using, and it works pretty well for me. And let me show you how to lubricate it. It's really very simple. This is a small set screw. You can pull this out, and you have a larger screw on the back here. So let's get that out. There's a small fiber washer there. This is the grease I'm going to be using. It's a lithium grease. It's a soy-based lithium grease. It's not the Teflon like the Roy Dean is, but I'll go into a little bit of that information on that in a bit. The specifications call for 3 ounces of the Roy Dean grease. It's not much, so you don't have to pump the thing full. I've just put what I'd suspect is a teaspoon or 2 of grease in there. And that will, it's a fairly viscous grease. I'll show you the makeup of it here in a minute, as soon as I get these screws back in. It doesn't take much lubrication in this spot to last you a long time. As I said, South Bend Lathe dictated that that be done once a year if you're using the Roy Dean grease, which is a Teflon grease. But that is not Teflon grease that went back in there. That's a white lithium grease. Let me change your angle again. Okay, just to give you a little comparison, I'm going to show you what the new spindle cone grease that I'm carrying, how it stacks up to the lubriplate, which is sold in the Bridgeport Mill lubrication package. This, most of you are pretty familiar with. It's just a standard white grease, lithium base. The Roy Dean grease is a Teflon based grease. Unlike the new substitute I'm using, which is a soy based grease. I looked up the specs, and the spindle cone grease is has about 4 times the lubricity of the Teflon grease. As you can see, maybe you can't see, it's a little bit thinner than the lubricant plate. Neither one of them are runny, but this does seem to flow a little bit better, and to my fingers it feels a little bit slicker. It's not as viscous as the Roy Dean grease is, but this should migrate through the spindle cone and back here pretty nicely, lubricating everything, keeping it free. As I said, you know, if you're a purist and you want the Roy Dean grease, I can't help you. but if you're looking to keep your machine running and use a grease that's very similar to the Roy Dean, this might be your best bet. I've looked at a number of different greases, and most of them are too heavy, or they just don't match up very well with the Roy Dean, which is, I don't want to say it's runny, but it is more viscous than these two products. What I'm trying to do is keep your machine running. This is 8 ounces. Should keep you going for a long time. Far better than nothing at all. But these will be on the website and reasonably priced. I haven't found the perfect way to ship them just yet, but shipping shouldn't kill you on these. Let me change you up again. Okay, so getting back to it, if you absolutely have to have the Roy Dean grease to lubricate your lathe, I can't help you. There's 2 guys out there that can, Steve Brooks and Steve Wells. You should check out both their products because they do sell some great stuff. This is what I'm selling as a substitute for the Roy Dean grease. It's not a Teflon grease like the Roy Dean is, but it's a good lubricant. It's a soy-based, eco-friendly, if that makes a big difference to you. And it works very well. I'm not trying to pass this off as Roy Dean grease. It's just another option for you. So it will be available on the site. The shipping shouldn't kill you, and as with all the other products on the site, I do combined shipping, so should be an affordable solution to the Roy Dean dilemma. Hopefully some of you guys will check it out, so I don't have to keep answering this in emails. But that's about the long and the short of it. Hope that was of some help to some of you guys, and thanks for watching. Stop back.